Hey guys, welcome back. I got a busy day, so we're gonna take a little look at we're gonna do a quick video. We got a quick article here, and we're gonna take a look at what we got. I got some insider information from a PSA employee about what's going on with this authenticity stuff. There's still questions. I still don't know what's going on with a few of these details, but we're going to get into that. So here we have it. We have PC Gamer with this article by Ellie Gould, who says 87% of eBay's trading card experts earn less than a living wage, say union organizers. So I'm a little bit confused even by the title itself, because it seems like eBay's trading card experts or their authentication team is not eBay. It's through PSA, and what apparently was CGC and maybe isn't going to be CGC anymore. According to the inside source that I have, it seems like it's mostly PSA, or it's going to be entirely PSA at some point in time. So keep that in mind. So I don't know if this is purposely vague. I don't know if, because they're contracted, so it could change at any time. So they might lose the contract. PSA might not do it anymore. Someone might get to step in, or vice versa, whatever it might be. Now, before we get into that, let's look at a couple details. Recently had they have authenticity guarantee in Canada. There was definitely some flaws in the beginning. I'm hearing less problems with the eBay authenticity guarantee, which is good to see. And if it's catching some fake stuff, by all means, that's good for everyone involved. We've been doing the reports. I do think that eBay needs to seriously consider just having a couple experts in each category. Have a Pokemon, they don't even need to be the toppest of top tiers of experts, but trimming off a lot of the counterfeit stuff that's obviously counterfeit. You can tell from the images. Having somebody with the ability to go in and immediately remove those, contact the seller, be like, hey, what's going on here? This is counterfeit, that sort of thing. I think that would be a huge step in the right direction, would make it a whole lot more friendly to be purchasing on there. Similar to like Walmart, where they shouldn't have the third-party stuff unless they're completely vetting those sellers. It's an avenue for fake stuff to get pumped through. It's usually in the $100 to $200 range, which does not get caught by the authenticity guarantee. So, what else do we have? If you're in Canada, apparently, if you're in Canada, they have an authenticity guarantee center in Canada. So if it's Canada to Canada, it goes there. If you're buying from Canada, you're buying something from the US, it still goes to the US center and then gets shipped out from there. Everything at this point in time is going through FedEx, so I'm not sure. I haven't ordered anything of a higher dollar value, the $250 plus, that it requires, to find out exactly. Sometimes with FedEx, sometimes with the UPS, they can really shaft you in terms of the broker fees that they charge. Now, you got to pay taxes, you got to pay imports, depending on the value and everything else. But when they start adding their own extra fees because they want to be the broker, if you don't have a broker, that's where it gets into the dicey zone. And hopefully they have something worked out there that people are not getting absolutely shafted by that if they're buying stuff. And if they are, it's another reason that you probably want to be maybe find a middleman, find something so that you can have stuff shipped over. From my experience, it's usually best to go with USPS. They're less likely to upcharge the living crap out of you on the broker fee end of things. So I know people have their choices, and they say one company's better than the other. They all mess up, they all lose stuff, they all damage stuff. I've seen it with all of them, so I'm mostly I would prioritize not getting upcharged. So USPS is really weird, or not USPS, UPS, sorry, is really weird. In that if it's air, they charge you $10 duty, or not duty, broker fees essentially. But if it's not, if it's ground, they will absolutely wring your pockets out. It's ridiculous. It's insane. Not to mention, like, man, I always have problems with UPS. There's always something. There's like something different every time I get a shipment. They'll try to double charge you, all this other stuff. Then you got to talk on the phone for 8 years. Regardless, that's not what the video is about here today. We're talking about eBay guarantee. We're talking about employees. And yes, we've talked about the employees before. And you can see on the card here, the one that I showed, that it does say CGC or PSA. So this could be just old card stock. This could be stuff that they're using up, or CGC might still be there and it might switch over. So again, I do not have the full scope of everything It seems like they didn't put any kind of press release together for any of that stuff. They probably wanted to look more polished from the outside and not show any of those details that, hey, we're getting rid of CGC. Hey, it's going to all be PSA. But take it all with a grain of salt. My information is, I trust the source. I vetted the source. But at the same time, they might not even know internally exactly what's going on or what that's going to look like. So what we had before, it seems like now we have on Fanatics, we have CGC doing the authentication for the raw cards, the raw review, raw authentication, whatever you want to call it. It's basically just in a semi-rigid, and we saw that done before by MBA or Mike Baker. This was like an ex-PSA employee that had this separate kind of system. You can see every now and then on the G-Baller Extreme cards, you'll see people that'll get like a little MBA sticker that they put on their slab. Very similar to the Diamond and Pearl games, where it's supposed to mean that it's like extra authentic, or it's an extra good version of whatever the graded card is, that kind of stuff. PWCC had something similar where there was like PWCC plus or some crap like that they put on the slab. Pretty ridiculous, and yeah, I don't think at any point you should have to authenticate the authentication. But that's the world we're living in here. That's what we got going on. So it seems like, from what I'm seeing, correct me if I'm wrong, or if anyone has additional information, please provide it. But it looks like PSA is kind of taking over the eBay stuff and getting close, getting snugly with them. And then Fanatics is kind of going the way of the CGC stuff. Now, submissions, anything like that. Although I guess Fanatics is also partnered with PSA, because the PSA membership gets you like Fanatics deals and stuff like that. So I don't know. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of swinging going on with these companies, and I'm trying to make sense of it. So hopefully it makes a little bit more sense to everyone else. Some of those details, people are like, "Oh, who gives a crap, Rattle?" And well, I don't know. I think it's important to know where your stuff's going, what's going on, and I think more important than anything is the fact that these companies are doing what's in your best interest. They're companies. They're going to do what's going to make them the most money. They're going to do what makes them look the best. So we want to take a look. We want to make sure they're doing what they're doing, and that it is at least not harmful in any way to the consumer. Now, back to the article here on PC Gamer. We have 87% of eBay's trading card experts learn less than a living wage. So I brought this up on the channel many times. Some people get upset. Some people are like, who cares, Rattle? What is going on here? But the grading companies, same as the authenticity people, who are basically doing the same thing. They're just, instead of putting it in plastic, they're just saying, hey, this is real. Hey, this isn't real. I think if implemented correctly, it's a great strategy. It's a great way to cut down on people selling fake cards if they don't send what's supposed to be sent, all of that stuff. But there are some negatives that come with it, and hopefully those all get flushed out and it becomes only a positive thing. Now, the grading companies. Guys, I've told you a million times, if you spend a lot of time, if you spend 5 years looking at Pokemon card stuff, even if it's not your full-time job, even if you just do it, you get home from work, you go on, you learn some stuff, maybe you read some articles, maybe you look into some, whatever your favorite stuff is, your expertise in whatever you've looked into, whatever you've learned, can easily be more valuable than the grading companies. Condition or authenticity, both of those, if you spend enough time around Pokemon cards, and it doesn't take that much, your opinion can be more valuable than somebody that's rushing through a bunch of this stuff, grading a bunch of this stuff, grading, authenticating, either one. Your opinion is more valuable than that. My apologies to everyone that's working at the grading center. I'm sure some of the head graders, some of the people up on the higher end, not the ones that are handling a lot of your inexpensive or your bulk orders or stuff like that. Again, anyone that knows, or anyone that is experienced in Pokemon, is probably going to want more money than what they're offering. Any of the grading companies, doesn't matter which one. That's what it comes down to. They're underpaid, and it is. You shouldn't blindly expect expertise to the highest level with the amount of time and money they're being paid. That's what I'm saying here. So buy the card. even if it's graded, even if you love graded cards, even if you want certain graded cards, even if you want them in a certain grade, buy the card, not the grade. Stuff can be misgraded. Fake cards can be misgraded. You should know that the card inside is authentic with your own eyes, even if you want it in a PSA 10. You should know, you should look at the card and be like, hey, this is a 10. If I crank this out and I send it back in again, this is a 10. Unless you're, really underpaying because the card looks like trash and it shouldn't have been a 10 and it would never get a 10 ever again. That kind of thing. Got me? Got me? So we got here, when you purchase, all right, the article, finally, we're getting to the article. When you purchase through links on our site, we may earn affiliate commission. That is awesome. By the way, guys, if you're not using it, speaking of affiliate commission, we got the link tree. Use the link tree. There's a bunch of sites here where you can support the channel at no additional cost to yourself. Buy the stuff that you're going to buy anyway. Make smart purchases, or the stuff that I recommend here. We got some discount codes. Everyone loves a discount code. We got Card Market if in Europe. And if you're in North America, you're probably buying from Troll and Toad with code RATTLE5 for 5% off. Best way to support the channel. Don't send me money. Go buy something for yourself. Go buy something for a friend of yours. All right, so what do we got here? We have TCG authenticating is an integral part of any trading card ecosystem, especially for big-time collectors or players who just want to honor some of their greatest cards. But life for the people behind the authenticators isn't so easy. Earlier this month, one of the biggest authentication centers rallied to demand better wages and respect. That's the thing, too. It's just like, how much can you pay them? Then the grading fees go up. It's a delicate system. And do people want to pay more? No, not really. So you get into a tough spot. And then how much of it can be automated? And no, I'm not talking about AI. It's not AI necessarily, in my opinion. It's just a series of scans that could happen to a card. And then maybe some assistance from a human at the end of that to make sure that maybe even if it takes the same amount of time, maybe if it takes a little bit more time, but requires less employee interaction or employee, judgment, depending on how fast the scans might take longer than the 30 seconds or whatever that a grader is looking at a card. Maybe it makes sense for more expensive stuff, maybe it doesn't, but I think even then, as a grading company, you would think they would want to have something standardized for every card that goes through. Regardless, same amount of time is spent, same amount of expertise is used, but it's probably not the reality, and that's why there's different tiers, different upcharges and all that fun stuff. Well, the upcharges, at least with PSA, is because they claim that they're going to reimburse you if it ends up being fake, if it's misgraded or anything like that. Like any insurance of any kind, you're going to have to fight with them in order to get that done, to get it resolved. We've seen people that have abused that system, so it's nice that it's there, but there's a lot of bad that comes with that as well. I mean, there's bad that comes with anything. The campaign to organize digital employees in the tech, games, and digital industries, code CWA, announced that members of eBay's Authentication Center in Syracuse would be holding a rally on October 3rd to demand a living wage. So, as far as I'm aware, PSA isn't the Syracuse Center. It seems like that maybe that was CGC. I'm not really sure. Again, I feel like we're missing information here, so take that into consideration. And then them saying that it's eBay and not naming whatever the grading company that is contracted to do that is also, it's a little weird. It's a little weird for the article here, but we're gonna ignore that for the time being. The majority of eBay's Authentication Center workers in Syracuse earn less than a living wage for a single person without children. Code CWA says in a tweet, eBay is worth almost $29 billion. So that's rough. And we've compared it before. We looked at the numbers, and the wage for a grader at one of these companies is often very similar to that of either minimum wage or somebody that's working at McDonald's as a threshold, as a I guess comparison. So that, I mean, it depends where you live, right? If there's a different minimum wage, if there's a different cost of living in certain areas, which is why you would think that the majority of the stuff, they would want to be somewhere inexpensive, but sometimes they're not. So that's a little bit weird, especially if you have that many employees that, if you're trying to save money, if you're trying to send the end consumer, like it doesn't really matter to the person submitting their cards, for the most part, where that's going, who it's going to, but it does matter. I got a dog barking upstairs. I am gonna give her some pets later. The Authentication Center in Syracuse deals with thousands of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic the Gathering cards a day, and most of the work sees authenticators standing in one spot sorting inspected cards for hours on end. So that's the thing too. I don't know how that would work out if they go on strike, or if they're demanding more wages. If that's kind of like eBay can play that against them and just be like, okay, well, the other authenticators from the other company, that we'll just get them to do all of it. That kind of thing. So it's pretty rough when you're just standing in one spot, sedentary for extended periods of time. Yeah, 100%. And you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make a ton of mistakes if you're doing cards 30. If you've ever worked anywhere, in a warehouse, packing orders of any kind, stuff like that, their expectation is you make as few mistakes as possible and you do it as fast as possible. If you make too many mistakes, they're going to be mad at you. If you don't do it fast enough, they're going to be mad at you. So, and then when you're doing it for the entire day, you're zoned out, you're not paying attention, you don't care anymore, you just start throwing 8s on stuff, and because you get rewarded for it, or you don't get disciplined for it, I guess. Giacona says via Polygon, a lot of my coworkers have sciatica issues. It hurts more to not move than it does to move. So that's interesting too. I don't know if you'd have to have like standing desk. I would think that you'd want to sit for some of it, but you probably don't want to sit for the entire shift. I mean, it would be a miserable shift anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that works, but I would think standing desk, so you can adjust, or you can be in different positions. Spend some of it sitting, spend some of it standing, depending on if any of the employees have, I guess, issues with doing either of those things. They can kind of choose what's most comfortable for them. Giacona also reveals that her wage starts at just $16.25 an hour, and in a larger report by code CWA, it is revealed that the median wage at this authentication center is $18.25 per hour, with 87% of authentication center workers earning less than a living wage in Syracuse. We got 78% of respondents also reported feeling financially insecure due to low wages. So I don't know if the $18.25, if that's like including like management, including other roles, or if, like, I'm assuming that based on this, the $16.25 an hour is the starting wage for like the baseline starting out greater. How much of an increase that gets, or if it just all kind of comes up if with inflation and or raises or anything of that kind, or if you just make a standard wage until you get moved up to another role within the company. And I would imagine that most people are hoping for that. If they're with the company long enough, there's got to be some sort of opportunity there to move into a management role. You probably have to slug through a lot of long days, grading a lot of cards and or authenticating a lot of cards before that happens. And yeah, it's like anything, and I'm sure a lot of people get into this, start out with this. They probably have some love for cards, some knowledge of cards in advance. So whether or not they use this as a stepping stone is it's up to them, but also depending on how hard it is internally to do so, it can definitely be discouraging for sure. And then some people just don't want it; they just want to continue to do the grading part of it and have no desire to move up. I've seen it before in many of the I guess the jobs that I've had, both in high school and post secondary, getting out. Some people just don't just want to stick with what they know. They just want to do what they do. They want to go in, they want to do it, they want to go home. That's it. They can't be bothered to want to kind of advance within the company, even if they've stayed there for 20 years. Like, it's that's crazy to me, but to each their own. If that's what they're happy with, then why not? This financial insecurity means that around 66% of workers have to rely on friends, family, or public assistance to get by, with many workers reporting that they often have to delay buying groceries or getting necessary medical care. So far, workers have tried to reach out to eBay to make headway on new agreements for better wages, but it's been difficult. When we began the bargaining process, we agreed with the CWA that we would address the non-economic components of the contract before discussing economic topics like wages, eBay told Polygon. We have a handful of remaining non-economic proposals to agree upon before we move to economic discussions, which we expect to occur soon. This just sounds like stalling to me. Kinda, yeah. It sounds like a nothing answer. It sounds like, oh yeah, we'll figure it out eventually. Kind of talk. There's been no further information shared about wage discussion in the following weeks, so I'm unsure as to what soon means. I mean, there's got to be something there. I'm sure there's many ways to optimize the process. It is a new process. It is a new thing. I mean, the card grading aspect is very similar. There's got to be a lot of time in between each individual authentication too, because if it's like one item getting sent at a time through eBay authentication, they got to open it. It's a different it's going to be a different parcel, a different product each time. So like trying to open that stuff, like it's not like a grading submission where you have a box and there's 200 cards in there and you can just go through. They're all packaged the same way. They're supposed to be, at least in the semi-rigids and stuff like that. But when you're going through, man, I can't imagine. You got to go through a package each time. Some of the packages take you more time. Maybe every 10 minutes you go through a package rather than like every 30 seconds you grade a card. Yes, there is the package that someone's got to open the package at least from the get-go. I don't think the graders themselves do that. So I don't know the process, but I would imagine it's a much more lengthy one when you have like one card per transaction, per purchase. All right, what do we got here? We got one more quote at the end. It says, I put everything, oh no, we got more after that. I put everything, my whole heart, into my work. Another authenticator wrote, worker Megan Wheeler says, and to see that come back with almost nothing, to hear them say they care but not show it, to go through something that should be as wonderful as pregnancy and preparing for a family, and to be worried about choosing between my job or my family, it feels terrible. It feels like it belongs much further in the past than 2024. So I think a lot of it comes down to you probably don't work there if there's no sign of it becoming, like, even if it's a passion project, there are many other things. Or you can do Pokemon, you could do trading cards if you're a trading card enthusiast. If you have some other job, if there's some other opportunity outside of cards to make some money, and then even if you do it on the side, whether you have your own eBay store, anything of the sort, if you have time and if you want to spend time around the trading card stuff, you can make more money than the $16 they're paying you per hour. However, after a successful demonstration with the Syracuse community members last week, many workers are still hopeful for a positive outcome. I mean, a lot of that comes down to, like, you need to have, like, work ethic. There's some people that can, there's some people that can't work from home. There's some people that, like, and even then, if you had something and you built it up, whether it's an eBay store, whether it's an online shop of any kind, then if you're working somewhere else, you don't like that, but you want to do cards, you can move into it. If it's working out, if it's sustainable, if you spend all day instead of going to your regular job and you can make the same amount of money or an amount of money that you're happy with, and you have the discipline to be your own boss, to do your own stuff, to actually work, then I think that's the answer, rather than anyone that's seeking this out. Short of, like, if somebody has the means to start out here, they're in it for the long haul, they're going to work hard every day, they're going to inquire about moving up in the company, and even then, sometimes that might not necessarily work out. The Syracuse TCG Authentication Center is one of the largest employers in the area, so if the demands are met, it could have far-reaching benefits. It'll enrich the community and the local economy as a whole. Yukana says, that's our hope. So we have correction. A previous version of this article incorrectly stated that workers at the Syracuse Authentication Center are on strike. There is no strike. Okay, so there's no strike. They're just, I guess, trying to negotiate. Interesting enough. So we got a little blurb about Ellie there, and a jillion ads down on the bottom. Hopefully this was enlightening, especially, I guess, if anyone's watching that is interested in becoming a grader. Just kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Know that it's not going to be all hearts and rainbows and anything like that. It's that would be very hard work. Very hard work for very little in return, short of the prospect of hopefully moving up. And I don't even know if that's necessarily the correct method to end up with a position in, like you saw Cam from Z&G. He's working with PSA now. He didn't start grading with PSA in order to get a position at PSA. So maybe working somewhere else, if you do want to work for a grading company, if you do want to work within the grading company and not just be grading a card every 30 seconds for your 8-hour shift or whatever amount of time they have you in there for, maybe the answer is also something on the side. And if you have to supplement that with some work that you don't like, probably better having the appropriate amount of funds and just kind of avoiding this path. Each their own, though. Everyone has to find their own path, and best of luck for anyone that is trying to kind of work their way through this stuff. I can only imagine. It's gotta be miserable, right? Let me know down below. What do you think? Would you do it? Is that something that you could do? For how long could you do it before? I'm sure there's a novelty to it at the beginning. You get trained. You're like, oh, cool. I get to see cool cards every day. But I'm sure that wears off. The little honeymoon phase, and then all of a sudden your boss is kind of giving you shit because you accidentally graded a fake card, or you missed a giant crease down the middle of something. You got a PSA 10 and everyone's sharing it on the internet, that sort of thing. Regardless though, look out for each other out there, guys. Best of luck for anyone that's trying to kind of make their way through this. I wish the best. Same with if I refer to McDonald's kind of wages. Everyone has the ability to work their way up from that, whether it's within the company itself or make yourself better. Keep looking for different things, advance somewhere else. If you have to, do what you got to do to improve. Do what you got to do to sell yourself as something, your value. Show your value, build your value, show your value, sell yourself, and move up in whatever is your thing, whatever you're good at, whatever you can make an impact doing. That's the key. Join the Discord. See you next time.